Welcome to Weekdays Live. I'm CJ Holmes, founder of Homeowners for Justice, and your host today for Update Fridays. And boy, do we have a lot of updating to catch up on. This week we've spent on workshops, and I want to just share with you as that first update. It's been fabulous. We're getting great feedback. People are watching all over the country. We just need 100,000 more to do so, 1 million more. We just need everybody to watch these training sessions and join the fight. So today we've got some really interesting updates. I've gotten information from all over the country, some neat links and some little videos to show you what's going down in the federal government and some decisions and the OCC. And I just wanted to say that there's some real good action going on. Unfortunately, the folks that could share, they just can't this morning. So I'm going to just summarize what they're doing, show you some of the actions and activities just to spur effort everywhere in the country, because as we all rise up together, we can help ourselves. United we stand. Divided, they're just chewing us up and spitting us out, as we all well know. So let's start here first with the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Turns out this is the organization, the agency that oversees the mega banks and major servicers. We've talked repeatedly about the settlements, the consent judgments, the cease and desist orders. And now this is the OCC announcement of the $9.3 billion foreclosure, another foreclosure settlement agreement. And interestingly enough, it says that this is for the people, this is in substitute now for the independent foreclosure review. We talked a whole lot about that last year. That's gone. That vaporized. They spent billions of dollars on the companies doing the review. None of the people got anything, as you would expect. So it was just another boondoggle, because the OCC continues to keep putting the banks in charge of regulating themselves. So there's a problem. Nevertheless, it says here, and I want to just read these few things, that the borrowers covered by these amendments include the 4.2 million people whose homes were in any stage of foreclosure in 2009 or 10. So it's just those two. So let's pick favorites. Okay, so 09, 010, if you were in any stage of foreclosure during that time, and your mortgage was serviced by one of these servicers below, and you can check out the article. Those borrowers are expected to be contacted by the paying agent. Okay, so now we got somebody else who's probably going to reap billions in doing this, Rust Consulting, Inc., by the end of March 2013 with payment details. The paying agent will send payments and correspondence. Borrowers covered by the amendments are expected to receive compensation from a few $100. Thank you very much for your house. We stole it, we'll give you a couple $100, or even up to $125,000. How they're going to determine that, I'm not sure, and I think there's controversy over it. Borrowers are not required to take any additional steps to receive the payments. Now, if you believe that, you probably won't get anything. So if it were me, and I had been in foreclosure in 09 or 10, I would be on that phone after this show, making sure that they have my name on the list, that they have my current address and any other current information that they needed. So you can call the paying agent. So here's the number, and if you're just listening, I'm going to say it so that you can write it down. You can pause this show and you can play it again and write it down, or look up this link. It's 1-888-952-9105. That's 1-888-952-9105 to update your contact information. And of course, this is only like $5.7 billion for 13 servicers. Here's a list of the servicers down below. And just as a notice, GMAC, Everbank, and One West did not enter into agreements in principle with federal regulators. So it's a mishmash, and it's up to the owners to protect themselves. What else is new about that? Here, I wanted to point out is another article, that fascinating article specifically about the settlement. And of course, they're going to spend, oh, now this one's $3.6 billion. But the $5.7 in mortgage relief, that's also part of the deal, may favor borrowers with the biggest unpaid loan balances. Now, they're saying sort of the same thing. But down here, I want to tell you what consumer advocates are shocked and dismayed when they learn Thursday how that was what, yesterday? How some of the credits will be tallied. Okay, listen to this. Okay, listen to this. For instance, if a bank forgave $15,000 in principal owed on a $100,000 unpaid balance, the bank would get a $100,000 credit. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why don't they give the $85,000 difference to the owner? The owner gets nothing, 15 grand, the bank gets 100. I'm telling you, this is what happens when the regulators have just caved in or are run by the banks themselves. They're going to make all the rules up for themselves. It's a no-brainer, and everybody in this country needs to get this. If the bank forgave 15 in principal on a $500,000 unpaid balance, they would get $500,000 credit, said the OCC spokesman. The OCC says the terms are meant to drive modifications that best serve borrowers. I'm sorry. I can't even keep a straight face on that one. I don't know what to say. I apologize. If the OCC is saying that this is meant to best serve borrowers, then I say fire all of them. Get rid of every one of them. I'll run the OCC. You mark my words. Those banks won't like it. Just like they don't like Elizabeth Warren. All right, moving on. You can read the rest of that. The Sixth Circuit throws out debt buyer settlement. So the National Consumer Law Center's e-blast this morning contains some very good news for consumers. The Sixth Circuit has just thrown out a nationwide settlement involving Midland. Now we're back to robo-signing. Forgery. Always think forgery. Robo-signing debt buyer with over 1 million customers. And this, when they threw out the settlement, the court did. This will allow other class and individual actions to proceed against Midland, and the suit was thrown out because of a faulty notice to the borrowers, to the class members. But it would have only paid them like $17 each. That is just an outrage. You may have heard about the case before. It's the one in which the Ohio District Court held that robo-signing, that's forging, affidavits, that's notarization. They're forging notarized documents, which is what we've talked about. Go look at that workshop. In debt collection actions, and we already know, they already say, even on the notice of default, notice of sale, it is printed right there on your documents. This is a debt collector. So this is a debt collection action, and that violates the FDCPA because the allegation of personal knowledge is false and misleading. So the Midland employees have been signing between 200 and 400 computer-generated affidavits, notarized documents, a day for use in debt collection actions without the personal knowledge of the accounts. Duh. So that means literally the 4 million people that have already lost their homes, all the million people looking forward to losing their homes, and the 11 million people underwater, they're going to start getting notice of the defaults. This is the claim that we need to make. I want to share with you just a short little video about how these academics and leading people in the country are being interviewed and what they are saying about this foreclosure crisis and how it's really going to affect our country as a whole. We need to make sure that everyone knows this. Share this information with all your neighbors, your whole address book, put it on your Facebook, send it out. This is really crucial because here we're going to see it's still a big threat. They just don't want to talk about it. It's a media blackout, and we have to fight back against that.
Susan Wachter, professor of real estate at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, says that shoe has, in fact, already dropped. She joins us now from Philadelphia with her perspective. Welcome. So how much of a wake-up call was the December jobs report that many homeowners of the best credit will still see challenges making their mortgage payments?
That's a real problem, and not just the unemployment problem, which of course is a problem for the whole country and particularly for those families suffering, but it's a problem because we haven't seen the end of the housing foreclosure crisis. That continues. So as we have these option arms, that is prime borrowers who are going to be facing recasting higher payments. Without a job, it's going to make it very difficult for them and threaten the recovery.
Your research, Dr. Wachter, found that 25% of homeowners are underwater. That's staggering.
25% of mortgage borrowers are underwater, and that's the problem today. So, even downsizing a home, if that's what has to happen, going in, renting, whatever, with families, you can't sell your home. You can't sell your home for the mortgage amount, and of course that means it sets up all sorts of bad incentives. But besides that, it's a problem for the banking system.
Another problem out there is this issue of shadow inventory. Robert Shiller, the Yale University professor and co-author of the S&P Case-Shiller Home Price Index, said in a recent interview, as you're saying, there will be continuing foreclosures and not just subprime, it will be prime. This is creating a huge shadow inventory of homes that are still owned, but they're going to be on the market in the next year or so. Have we realized the fallout from this shadow inventory issue?
That is the problem. The problem is the excess supply, not the excess supply in current inventories, but the excess supply that is the hidden inventory. And the question of how fast that comes online, that is, how fast, quickly, what's the timing of the forced sales really matters in terms of whether it go into a second dip. It may be that we avoid a second dip. If those homes come on the market, and they will, the foreclosures are going to happen, if it happens slowly over the next year or two and the economy keeps on improving, then we may not have a second dip. We may be at a bottom. However, there are many threats to that. Most importantly, what happens to interest rates. Interest rates may go up. And if they do, we have a real problem.
I want to carry on with the interest rates theme here, but I want to ask you more about foreclosures. And if foreclosures drive home prices down, is that ultimately a good or a bad thing to recover the housing market?
Well, obviously it's a very bad thing temporarily because banks are depending on it. Their loan decisions depend on it.
But it would draw more
therefore, the overall
buyers
economy.
in at cheaper prices?
Sure, it means that we have more affordability, but it means, and here's the problem, it means as prices decline, it means more people are on the margin for walking away, and it encourages further foreclosures, which increases the supply. So this very destructive phenomenon of foreclosures feeding further foreclosures. And it's not that we are in some ways near fundamental bottoms, but we can actually go beyond that. We can be in a destabilized situation where we, just like we went over fundamentals, we actually can underperform as well. And that kind of instability is what I'm mostly concerned about. It may not happen, but it could happen, especially if interest rates spike.
What's the best strategy? What course should the Fed take with regard to not only its monetary policy, but this idea that it's going to stop purchasing mortgage-backed securities, correct?
Yes, but on a Christmas Eve event, the decision was made that all Fannie and Freddie securities would be basically guaranteed by the federal government. That changes things. That gives a security to the lenders in terms of those instruments that wasn't there before, and should bring stability to that market. Without Fannie and Freddie and FHA, there would simply be no market, so we depend upon that. On the other hand, if overall interest rates increase, then obviously so will Fannie and Freddie securities, and that will go right home to Main Street and to the banking system and help and undermine the nascent recovery. I hope that doesn't happen. We don't know whether that's going to happen. Right now there is no hint of inflation, but nonetheless, even with no inflation, interest rates are heading up.
We'll have to leave it there. Dr. Wachter, many thanks.
This brings to mind something that, as I listen to her again talk about this, I do believe I need to do a show specifically on analyzing the market, because so many of these people, whether they're academics or federal agencies, or it doesn't really matter. It's like they don't really recognize whole segments of the market. For example, did you notice they only talked about supply? They only talked about putting the houses on the listing. They never talked about demand. That's who's buying these houses. And the fact of the matter is, they always say it's the Fed, as if interest rates does everything. They couldn't be further from the truth. That you got to understand, and I'm going to just say two things and then I'm done. until I have a good show, and I will have charts and explain how the market really does work. The fact is, buyers right now, as soon as she's right on many points, as soon as they have to sell short, if they're upside down and they keep further upside down, or they've lost income, they can't get a loan modification, they're jerked around, they lose the house to foreclosure or short sale, either one, that person, that party cannot qualify for a loan, and so they can't buy a house. And the fact is, what has happened now, over the millions of homes being foreclosed, they don't even talk about all the millions in short sales. So you've got millions of homes and homeowners that can't qualify to buy. So who's buying? And that's a huge question, because right now the recovery, the prices that are being pushed up because of hedge funds and cash. I know that for a fact, and a personal experience. People with cash are looking at their money in the bank account, or they're looking at their IRA, and they're going, I'm not getting any return. It's like a quarter point or less, or it's virtually zero. So why don't I buy a house, and I can have my family, I can be a tenant, a landlord, and I can have tenants, and that's the mind. At least I can get some return on my money. Last year in the 9 Bay Area counties, 30% of the deals were all cash. Almost doesn't matter which price point, because the cash price point ranges from, the low of 50 grand to a high of, $29 million. It's the same mind process, just add some zeros to it. And this is why, when you don't have buyers, if buyers disappear, if either cash dries up, interest rates rise so that they decide, well, I'd rather just be a little less risky and keep my money in the bank or in a CD, I'll get a better return. And then that pressure falls off of purchasing when you still have millions of buyers that can't buy a home, which would be a solid recovery. We're at risk. We're all at risk. So I've already made a note. I'm going to do a little live stream show on the market. I wanted to bring it, and here is another point. This is a recent article. This is over in Spain, but it's an indication. It just shows you that what the media is saying is a solid recovery may not be a solid recovery. So just a word to the wise. So here you've got Real Urbis, and we go, who's that? Well, it's the largest real estate company in Spain, and they filed for bankruptcy. And so the fact is, this is just in February 2013. The real estate solidity is not everything it's claimed to be. The foreclosure crisis is a major impact, and there are major other sub-issues going on that could still tilt the market, cause more devastation, and only until we stop foreclosures will we know for sure that we've hit bottom. When we don't have foreclosures and we don't have excess inventory, then we can start to rest assured that we've met some bottom. Here's another comment I'd like to share with you about the foreclosure crisis and the economic recovery.
Thank you for your questions. They're really excellent ones. And I'm going to wrap a number of them together, because several people wanted to ask the question, which is basically, what is the number one challenge to economic recovery, or what would be the single biggest factor for an economic recovery in an Obama victory or a Romney victory? So let me put it to you straight then. So what do we need for an economic recovery? Simple, please. Something that we can just do.
I think let me just give 2 or 3 things. The first is we need another round of stimulus. And fiscal stimulus. The monetary, as we said before, QE3 is not going to work, and anybody hopes, it's really, one of the criticisms of QE3 is it provides false hope that monetary policy will work. It's a fiscal stimulus we need. Secondly, we need to do something about the continuing problem in our housing market, the foreclosure crisis. 7 million Americans have lost their homes. If we don't do anything, another 2 to 4 million will lose their homes. And then, obviously, given my focus in my book on inequality, I think if we could address the problem of inequality, I think inequality is one of the things that's been weighing down our economy. Very simple fact, people at the top spend a smaller fraction of their income than people at the bottom. Whenever you have an increase in inequality, it depresses aggregate demand, and unless you offset that by creating a bubble like the Fed did before the crisis. So in my mind, addressing the problem of inequality would be both good from the long run perspectives, from point of view of social cohesion, but also good for the economy right now.
Okay, and Ian, give us your top 2 or 3 policy prescriptions. It doesn't have to be the economy. What would you want to see happen after the election?
Well,
I'm going to stop it right there. You're welcome to watch the rest of the YouTube. I'll link it on the comment section after this show. The fact is, he talks about other things that are very important, but I wanted to focus on the fact of the foreclosure crisis really has fed into the inequality. Just like I mentioned before, once a person loses a home, even if they just sold it short, and that is not their fault. The house is short because the market collapsed. The values have dropped. So you have conventional loans, people have put hundreds of thousands of dollars down, they have this debt, they're able to pay, the economic crisis comes along, wipes out their income stream. Many of the middle class Americans have income streams from their businesses, from other sources like that, not just wage slaves. And so when the business collapse, retail stores, all of this stuff goes out of business, so the person's income drops. The value of the houses have collapsed. Even in San Francisco, they're down. So you have upside down people, owners, in $2 million homes, but it's only worth $1 million now. And so they owe 1.5. So they can't sell without being short. And once they sell short, they can't borrow. So rather than the Fed, we ought to be going over to the FH, we ought to be going into the borrower regulations and saying, wait a minute, let's just suspend that for like the next 5 years so that anybody that lost a home to short sale and can still qualify to buy a home because of their income stream, let them buy. So there's other solutions that none of these people know or think about that I'd really like to express. But this is really true, what he's done. So it's ruining the middle class. You push them out of their home, they've lost all that down payment. They maybe borrowed that from 401k, so now they've lost the future. The stock market crashes. Even if it goes up, whoever lost. And so now they're looking at, wait a minute, I thought I had all this set and now I got nothing. And so now they're sliding down while the banks are setting, and everybody working for the banks, everybody connected into that cartel is pulling in rampant dollars. They're creating all the rules to benefit themselves. So I liked what he said about the disparity, because the foreclosure crisis is a key part to that. And that's something else that advocates and owners can help use to offset the, well, did you pay your mortgage or you stopped paying your mortgage, what do you expect? Just remember, most of the people now in particular, they stopped because they were told they had to. We won't talk to you for a loan mod or a short sale until you default. Okay, so the person wants a loan mod and he's told by the servicer, we're not even going to talk to you, go away until you default. So they're lied to, they're conned into it, and there you go. Millions more are going to lose their homes. This is the dilemma and the disaster, the challenge and the opportunity of our lifetime, because we can make the difference. We can tell people, get them on board, and stop the foreclosure crisis. And here's another quick little video about the foreclosure delay is slowing the recovery.
Of course, in the hard-hit states like Florida. New developments this morning, though, in the controversy over home foreclosures in Florida, the state with the third highest foreclosure rate in the United States.
And I want to pause it. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you. This is a banker. This is a banker. So pay attention to what the banker is telling, how they're spinning this news.
Rising number of bank moratoriums on foreclosures is thwarting the efforts of state officials to clear this backlog. Earlier this year, the Florida state legislature backed a plan to speed up these proceedings, but some of those judges were considering foreclosure cases in as little as 30 seconds. Okay, well, meanwhile, the politics of the foreclosures are heating up. My next guest says the delay will impact the nation's economic recovery. Alex Sanchez is the CEO of the Florida Bankers Association up here in New York for a change. Alex, nice to see you.
Great to see you, Betty. How are you?
Good, good. And I saw your head nod when I was saying, look, this is going to delay essentially the clearing out of these foreclosures.
Right. And Betty, look, if someone has been wronged here in this process, let's make them whole. But let's not hold up the hundreds of thousands of homes that really need to be cleared and sold so our economic recovery can continue. Now, I will tell you, before a banker even files a foreclosure lawsuit, that's a very painful decision, something that the banker has tried to work out for months and months and months with the mortgage holder. And when it's not successful, and then when everything has been exhausted, then they file the foreclosure.
But it sounds like some of these processes have gone awry, though. I mean, judges approving cases in 30 seconds, lawyers not showing up, the buyers themselves not showing up, or the sellers?
Well, the problem is what they call it is the rocket docket. I mean, there's thousands of these cases. Many of them are flippers. Many of them are not the homesteaded property. Okay. And having this moratorium is just going to slow up our economic process. Recent reports have shown that we're never going to get to the bottom and start going up if we can't get these homes resold in the marketplace.
Right. You can't clear out that inventory.
You cannot. So, and when you buy a home, what happens, Betty? You buy refrigerators. You put new floors down. You buy furniture. So it's really going to hurt our economic recovery in states like Florida.
Right. You pile all that money into these homes.
Right.
Okay, so Alex, but do you have any hard numbers for us, though, as to how much this is going to cost the banks in Florida?
It's going to cost us a lot because, again,
what's a lot? Let's say
a lot is we've had a lot of bank failures in Florida. I don't have a specific number, but I will say this, Betty, that our banks are a reflection of our economy, and if we cannot get real estate moving in Florida, which is an essential part of our state economy, that's really going to hurt us long term. So these moratoriums, and I'm very concerned about the politicalization of this issue. This is not an issue for politics. I commend the president for getting involved here and saying this is these moratoriums is not the right thing to do. I commend our attorney general.
But you're saying it's a draconian step then for something that looks to be like a technicality.
Exactly. Again, if someone has been wronged, let's make them whole, and let's get the.
Well, do you know that anyone has been wronged in Florida?
No, I have not. I have not. I think that the fundamentals are that the person has not paid their mortgage. In some cases, these people have abandoned their homes.
Right.
And the home is, again, the neighbors in that neighborhood want that house sold so their values can be restored by not having a foreclosed property across the street from them.
Okay, but these banks in Florida, though, I mean, are you able to say, though, at least how many of them, have foreclosed homes on their portfolios, or where are they most exposed?
Obviously along our coastal areas, there's a lot, but it's all over the state of Florida, Betty, and I don't have a specific number, but again, our bankers, real estate, as you know, is an essential part of our state economy.
Right.
And if we can't get these properties moving as we have been and clearing out the inventory, as you said earlier, it's going to hurt the state of Florida.
And what are the banks asking you to do?
Well, obviously I'm working with folks in Washington and folks like you to get the word out. And I think it's very important that the policymakers listen to you, Betty, because this is a very important part for our economy.
Well, I mean, the press is certainly covering this this development. Okay, Alex, thank you so much.
Great to see you.
Appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Of course, in the hard-hit states like Florida.
Did you get that? That was so filled with misleading statements, misconceptions, clearing out inventory, phrases like that. First off, the big question in my mind is, the Florida banks? Are you kidding? Most of these foreclosures are not from the Florida banks, they're from the mega banks. So I'd want clarification on that. He has no numbers. How handy. He talks about if any homeowner has been wronged, make them whole. And then they call fraud and forgery a technicality. Somebody needs to go talk to this person, somebody in Florida, come on guys, and say, look, you've got to understand this. It's a word game, it's an image game, it's a manipulation. The fact of the matter is, every home that is now empty, it is a life ruined. It's a devastation for that family and that former owner. Now, I didn't understand this either. If they've got the foreclosures, if they're actually foreclosures and the bank actually owns them, then why aren't they selling them? What's keeping them from selling these homes when they own them? Nothing, except their decision. So it's the bankers that aren't clearing out the inventory if these are actual foreclosures. If these are not foreclosures, and remember the article we talked about last week, where the zombie owners, where they've moved out, they've been told the house is going to get foreclosed, the owner moves out, is long gone, the bank never completes the transaction, just lets it sit there and decay. And so now you've got hundreds of thousands of people who are on the hook for homes that they should never have left. They should have just stayed there, because if they'd stayed there and the bank decided not to foreclose, at least they'd still be in the house and it wouldn't be a devastation. But they didn't understand that. This was years ago. And so that's what's happening in Florida. A huge number of questions come to mind. This is all a spin, but it's very instructive. So I'm going to recommend that us activists in particular, we watch this again and we come up with a rebuttal, a story that rebuts each one of these assumptions. You got to point out to people what those assumptions are, because when you hear this zipping along in a couple of minutes, you go, well, that makes sense. Point out how it doesn't make sense. That's the point on this one. Here I want to point out, moving on, in Nevada, a judge dismisses charges in a robo-signing case. Now, what happened is these prosecutors went after the individuals themselves. And this was employers of lender processing services. Each of these people, Gary Shepard, Gary Trafford, faced 306 felony counts of falsifying foreclosure notices. What should have happened instead is that these prosecutors should have made these people testify against their bosses. They should have climbed the ladder. Why they're not climbing the ladder, I don't know. But that's something that each and every one of us needs to pay attention. If and when we start getting district attorneys, attorney generals in any state in the country, any county in the country, starting to look at prosecution, let's make sure they climb that ladder and they take the people that were just doing what they were told to do. Here, sign this, okay? That they testify against the leaders. That's what happened in Florida. And they climbed a certain level up to Doc X, the founder of the company. They didn't go further up, which I believe they should have, to Lender Processing Services, LPS, which is truly just a fraud mill. Our favorite hero is back. You gotta listen to Elizabeth. It's fabulous. I just love it. She's talking to Bernanke.
Investors believe with too big to fail out there that it's safer to put your money into the big banks and not the little banks, in effect creating an insurance policy for the big banks, that the government is creating this insurance policy, not there for the small banks. And now some economists, including an economist at the IMF, has started to document exactly how much that subsidy is worth. Last week, Bloomberg did the math on it and came up with the number $83 billion that the big banks get in what is essentially a free insurance policy. They borrow cheaper than the small banks do. So I understand that we're all trying to get to the end of too big to fail. Mm-hmm. But my question, Mr. Chairman, is, until we do, should those biggest financial institutions be repaying the American taxpayer that $83 billion subsidy that they're getting?
Well, the subsidy is coming because of market expectations that the government would bail out these firms if they failed. Those expectations are incorrect. We have an orderly liquidation authority. And even in the crisis, we, in the cases of AIG, for example, we wiped out the shareholders.
Excuse me, though, Mr. Chairman, you did not wipe out the shareholders of the largest financial institutions, did you? The big banks?
Because we didn't have the tools. Now we could.
Well,
now we have the tools.
$83 billion says that, whatever you're saying, Mr. Chairman, $83 billion says that there really will be a bailout for the largest financial institutions if they fail.
No, that's the expectation of markets, but that doesn't mean that we have to do it. I think we have to do is solve the problem, Senator. I think we are really in agreement on this. Too big to fail is not absolute. There are spreads. Their credit default swaps say there is some probability of failure. Moody's and others have downgraded these firms. They've taken down some of their government support ratings, as you know. But we have a lot more to do, I agree. And I think that's a good debate to have. But we're in complete agreement that we need to stop too big to fail.
But I don't understand. It is working like an insurance policy. Ordinary folks pay for homeowners insurance. Ordinary folks pay for car insurance. And these big financial institutions are getting cheaper borrowing to the tune of $83 billion in a single year, simply because people believe that the government would step in and bail them out. And I'm just saying, if they're getting it, why shouldn't they pay for it?
I think we should get rid of it.
Investors believe...
I'm sorry, Bernanke says, I think we should get rid of it. The point is so true, and I have said for a year and a half, if you let the people go to the Fed window, and that's something even different from this, they go to the Fed and they just get money for nothing. If you let us go there, not nothing. It's $2,500 a year for $1 million. So, you know, I'll take two. I'll pay you $5,000 a year for borrowing $2 million. Are you kidding? And that's what the banks are doing. And she's talking about the fact is that's basically it. They can borrow the money so much less expensively, but it's at you and I are paying this. It's at our cost. And she's putting him on the hot seat. Now we'll see if Bernanke gets any feedback slapped down from the banks for saying, well, I think we should stop. Yeah, I think we should too. And I think we should stop too big to fail, and I, of course, think we should break them up. All right, moving on. You've got to know that the New York Times has made a nice announcement about the new Treasury nominee. This takes Geithner's position, Jacob Lew. I just have to enlarge this image. It is just classic. This is Jacob Lew. He's from Citicorp. He's the one that was overseeing the department that bet against the mortgage-backed securities. He shorted them, and they made big bucks in shorting them, and they, of course, knew they were going to fall in value. So that was a no-brainer. And he's been chief of staff for Obama now for a long time, and now he's going to be Treasury Secretary. He looks really tickled. It's frankly outrageous. And truly, in this article, they talk about why are we having another banker as the head of the Treasury. That's crazy. And personally, I think all of us should focus and work to getting no one in banking in any of the banking positions. That's the only way that they're not going to be looking at their career opportunities and cooperating with the people they're supposed to regulate and oversee. Here's another article that was sent to me as an update, and this is a legal decision where the assignment of the mortgage does not give the bank standing. It's a fairly convoluted argument and issue. You need to read the process. The fact is, just because the bank created an assignment of the mortgage didn't change what had happened with the note. And this is all about the note and standing. So you might want to take a look at that, particularly if you're interested in understanding the ins and outs of some of these legal rulings. And I just had to put this link in. This was just, I got this just a minute before the show started. But the Michigan Detroit, manager of Detroit, they have filed for emergency. They have an emergency, fiscal emergency. And we've shown pictures of Detroit. We know that it's just being decimated, devastated. And this is truly the end result of all of us over time. We must stop this devastation and this shifting of the assets of the middle class to the 1%, because that is really what's happening. And like I've said, and we're going to get now to the updates of the actions that people are doing. It's truly fabulous. One of the things I've done is write a letter, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. So back to some of the actions now. Oh, before we do that, I just want to put on record this information. This is from Foreclosure Radar. I actually just printed this picture for all of the bank-owned, all the foreclosures. Some of them are banks, some were sold to third parties, but they were all foreclosures that is on foreclosure radar record in California. And so that would be about 2007, but mostly 2008 to the current date. And right now, if you can see there, it's 979,480 homes have been lost. These are homes. These are housing units. So it's homes, condos, multifamily, but not commercial, not land, not other stuff, just the home units. Almost 1 million have been lost in California to foreclosure. So this is a devastation of a significant portion of the people in this state. And this is why the economic recovery is going to be sporadic. Certain areas, certain industries will bounce, others are going to remain decimated and just ruined. And all of those individuals, they all lost. It's on their backs that there's any recovery. And let me tell you, there's nothing a bigger burn to have the value drop. You're booted out of the house, you're dragged out of the house by the sheriff. The house is locked up, it sits vacant for a year. Eventually the bank sells it for, maybe even more than what, or probably less than what you offered to do as a loan modification. So you borrowed 4, you do the loan mod for 2, the bank takes it back, sells it for 100, I'm talking about 100,000s. And then, in the next year or two, it booms back up. They just stole your opportunity as an owner to stay in your home, have your home, and be there long enough for the economy to recover so that you can maintain the equity that you had. But no, kick them while they're down. And that's one of the horrible feelings of everyone that's lost their home. The reason I know this, I'm going to share with you some of the things in my mailbox today, but the fact is I get these emails a lot, and probably even more as we go. And that is, it's such a cheat. It's such a royal burn. My life has been ruined. Everybody else seems to be making money off of me. And truly, many of these people will probably not ever recover. So what I wanted to point out, there's a couple of things activists are doing as an update. And the first thing I want to share is that on the website, we've been doing the workshops, but on activism and solution on Share the News, the very first page, which is the one you're seeing, I just wanted to show you real quickly a few of the updates that I've done, because this is how you can help get the word out, and it's really easy. So first off, I've got these links, these video links, one for the supervisor, one for the recorder, one for sheriff, and one for an attorney general. These are various folks in those positions standing up around the country trying to stop the foreclosure crisis. So those video links can be shared anywhere very easily. Now, I've got a new flyer. Here's one for the country, the U.S. nation. And here's the flyer. It's just can be easily printed. You could even print it in black and white. Color's cool, but black and white is better to get out than nothing. And what I've got is the January foreclosure map 2013 from Realty Track, where it talks about the various states and which ones are hardest hit by foreclosure. I've got some facts here, my name and picture. That way you don't have to take the burden if you don't want to. So the Homeowner for Justice website, and then the information from John O'Brien with the pictures of his fraudulent and forged documents. I've also got a flyer there, a couple of samples of counties. Here's the one for Santa Clara. And on the counties, and if you want one for your county in California, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Arizona, I think I have access to those 5 counties with Foreclosure Radar, I can print the number of auctions scheduled right now in the county. So here for Santa Clara, for example, in February 2013, they have 1,754 auctions scheduled. So don't think the foreclosure crisis is over. It is not. The banks are just not listing the inventory. The upside down loans in Santa Clara County is 11%. Over 45,000 homeowners are wondering what they're going to do if their house doesn't start climbing back up in value, they're going to be upside down. And if they need to sell, or if they can't make their payments, or they're lied to and have to go into default so they can get a loan modification or a short sale, they're ruined too. They're just feeding into this locking out of buyers from buying houses. And then I put down here, how many homes have been lost to foreclosure since pretty much 2008 when this crisis started? Over 23,000 homes. Over 23,000 homes just in Santa Clara County. Now this is the home of Silicon Valley. This is devastation right in our backyards. And here's the letter that I've written, and I'm recommending you either just print that and include both sheets in an envelope, or just print both sheets, fold them, tape them together, and put mailing addresses on them, or just send them by email links out to your family, friends, neighbors. Put it on your Facebook. And this is what I've written. Dear homeowner, the foreclosure crisis as we know it is far from over. Millions of homeowners around the country are still losing their homes to foreclosure based on forged and fake foreclosure documents, just like millions of homes already lost. Why, do you ask? Because banks, the loan servicers, make far more money foreclosing than modifying loans. Lying to owners about a payment default being required for loan modification or short sale, refusing to accept payments, and creating fake, legal-looking paperwork to foreclose is far more simple and lucrative. Despite 2011 cease and desist orders from the regulating agency, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and 2012 U.S. Department of Justice consent judgments ordering banks, servicers, to stop these fraudulent practices, they have not stopped. Nor will they stop until homeowners rise up to expose this forgery and insist their fraudulent activity be criminally prosecuted. The crisis was never about deadbeat owners, a myth pushed by the banks. Planned from the 1980s, it has been a premeditated theft of middle-class wealth and assets. We implore you to check out our website, review the 11 foreclosure defense considerations from this perhaps new perspective, and join us in the fight to stop fraud closures and keep owners in their homes, including yourself, your family, your friends, and your neighbors. That is my letter to them. Please help us get this news out. And I wanted to show you real simply a neat way to do it. Perhaps you don't know, perhaps you do, but I want to just show you. You can go to this website. You know, this is the Share the News. You can come down here. I'm just going to use this as an example. Copy, where it says copy paste these workshop links into your email. This is how you do it. You just highlight it like that. You go right click. It says copy. You clicked on an email. Here's an email. You right click here and it goes paste. And notice how you have all of those links right there, and I've just shortened them with bit.ly so that they're little short links. These are links directly to the live stream videos for all this training. It is very simple to get this information out in an email or on a website. You can copy and paste that to your Facebook, copy and paste it to LinkedIn, copy and paste these everywhere. This is how we'll help go viral. This is what the owners want to hear. Trust me. I'm getting emails constantly from owners going, oh my goodness, this is so fabulous. They're running to the recorder's office. They're getting their documents. They're gonna join us, and this is the key. So now I want to bring you to what Jed is doing. Jed and Agnes up in Mendocino County. Oh my goodness, these people are fabulous. They are taking what I'm talking about and they are pushing it to the next level. So he's presented his suspicious documents. He's written a letter that I'm going to show right now. He's agreed that I could share it. I'm sorry, can't be with us today. Otherwise, I'd have him share it. But he's writing this letter to the media, and he's writing to Democracy Now!, trying to get this issue onto one of their shows, getting us onto the air in another media context to reach others that just haven't found us yet. He's calling it the corporate theft of middle-class America's homes using forged, fraudulent and false documents. We're nailing it. This is well written. I'm going to review it with him after the show today. We're going to try to shorten it a little bit. But what he does, he is explaining about the robo-signatures on his own documents. He's listing here the violations that we've got already listed on the owner statement of suspicious documents, which workshop is going to be next week. And we'll be ready to present a good, clean, complete document that owners can use to document everything that's false and wrong about their properties, because prosecutors need that information, and the more information, the more good, accurate information and explanation we give to all the prosecutors and attorneys and the people, the more everyone's going to go, really? Is that what's going on? Because I tell you, they don't know. They don't know. And it's this secrecy is the darkness of understanding is why the banks like cockroaches are running amok. And you know what it's like if you have cockroaches in your house and it's dark. They're just everywhere, feeding on everything, and you flip on the light and they scurry for the dark. So we're flipping on that light. So that's a nice letter. We're going to have that edited and then updated, put up on the Share the News link so that you can use that, and then just literally, these are boilerplate things. So you can just change to which media department you want to send it to. This is the point. We're trying to simplify the action and activities. And then now I would like to just share real quickly from the mailbox. I get so much mail, and it's really great. I just wanted to share a few items with you from our mailbox, Homeowners for Justice. Here's one that writes, "Hi CJ, love your site. I got a loan mod about 2 years ago. And trust me guys, I get this kind of feedback all the time. 2-3 years ago they've got a loan mod." She says, "It is all fake. Robo-signed, no notary, all modifications fraud?" Well, there you go. There's a good question. And the answer is not necessarily everyone, but every loan modification on a securitized loan is probably fraudulent. And the only way you would know for sure is to send out the qualified written request letter, because now that new letter we've got, it asks for identification of everything. Give me the owner of the loan. Give me that contact information. Give me who is holding my mortgage. Who is the servicer? Who was a servicer before that? You know, on and on down that list. Send that letter out. It's boilerplate. Don't change anything. Just your name, the loan numbers, the banks, the servicers. Put in your own specific information. Send that letter out. That's the only way you will have any kind of proof, either to yourself or for any other action, like sending your information to the district attorney or the attorney general for prosecution, or in a lawsuit. So she says, "I'm doing research to see if I have a legal owner. No luck so far. I'm filling in your papers, not sure what route to take next. I had 2 foreclosures, all fraud, and the current house on which I live in." She hates Everhome. Sorry. And notice today, we just said this morning, Everhome didn't agree to that settlement. She probably hates him with a reason. Here's another writer in. I saw your Feb 28 analysis of recorded documents video, and it was wonderful. And I want to help gather a bunch of forged documents to send to the AG. Just like you said, shut them down. And she doesn't mean shut the AG down. She means shut down the foreclosure mills. I know that. Shut down Recon Trust, Calorie Conveyance, all of these foreclosure mills. And so she's volunteering to help with this collection of documents and filing the OCC complaints. And she can help us convert this into Spanish. So we just really thank you so much for volunteering. We're looking for volunteers anywhere, everywhere, anywhere in the country. If you can convert this into a different language, please do so. Send me those links. I'll upload them to the website so people can read them there. If you have a Spanish conversion, if you would say, convert verbally what I'm saying on my training sessions, that would be fabulous. And then they could just listen to that while they're watching the training, muted. So please help me out. I don't speak these other languages. Oh, here's another writer in. I watched the show today and had to watch it 2 times. I was lost at first, but I'm catching on. One of my friend's foreclosures was done by conveyance from a defunct lender. See, I'm giving people words to use. When you can actually use the words, then you can get justice and restitution. So she sued this friend of hers, won, and is relieved of paying the mortgage after losing her home. She's also the first petitioner in a local or statewide, she's not sure which, class action lawsuit against the big banks. And I'm not sure what lawsuit they're talking about. But this is the point. If you know of actual legal actions happening that other owners could join, like class actions, please let me know. I will put it on the website. We will tell about it on the live stream show. Come on, we're in this together. And then I've just got to end with Agnes, good old Agnes in Mendocino County. She is such an activist. She is actually working with Mendocino County officials and JED, and they've reached out to a couple of other homeowners that they sent out letters to, who responded and said, hey, help me fight this on my house. And they're doing they're going to start a trial program for eminent domain. So this is what she's suggesting. I want to read this to you. She's suggesting this wording. We, the voters in Mendocino County, in order to protect the integrity of the property recordings in this county, the recorder clerk must ascertain that the foreclosing entity has the right to foreclose by proving that they own the mortgage. We therefore urge the county recorder to send an affidavit of authenticity to the foreclosing bank or financial institution requiring receipt within 20 days of a verified signature, she means ownership, under the California Penal Code 115, including penalty of perjury, jail time, and fines, in order to prove that they own the note and have the right to foreclose. Something that they can send out to the bank saying, prove to us that you have the right to foreclose. When no affidavit or proof of ownership is returned to the county, then the county can proceed to eminent domain that property, reevaluate, adjust the loan to market value, allow the owner to take that note and make those payments and stipulate the payments would be made to the county at a low interest rate like 2%. In this way, they'll reduce the risk factor and not need to pay anyone for fair market value. That's what we've talked about. They don't have the right to foreclose. So let's eminent domain the loans and let's have the county get the payments. Talk about a new income stream for the county. And so what she's suggesting is that they do that on a trial basis. What a fabulous idea. And Agnes, I'm so excited about it. And I believe this is what every one of us activists in every county should do. When you have anyone that has contacted you, and if you're an owner and you've already contacted us or you want to contact us for your county, that's great, because it just takes one to start. And we'll work with you to go to the county officials, the board of supervisors, the county recorder, and say, please eminent domain my loan. Take mine. Help me. Let's go through this process. So activists, everyone watching, help me. CJ, help us, all of us, draft what we need to have as a boilerplate so that we can get this to the Board of Supervisors, the recorder, the county attorney, the district attorney, give it to everyone in the county level, whichever county, it doesn't matter, anywhere in the country. And what we need is a boilerplate saying this owner or the undersigned owners, and we'll just start with 2 or 3. They have, perhaps these owners have gotten the qualified written requests and information back proving that the banks do not have standing to foreclose. They can take that information, or if not, if they haven't even started that can be sent as part of this process. I'm thinking this out loud. And so then when they get that information back and they see this bank doesn't have the authority to foreclose, or they have all these forged signatures on their documents, just like Jed, and just like the example I did on the training. Every document is fraudulent and fake and false. So take that evidence, go to the Board of Supervisors and say, I want my loan eminent domain because I really just want to keep the house. I'm not trying to get the house for free. I just want this to be over, and I would love to pay the county my loan payments each month. And of course the principal would be just like I talked about before, and I'm not sure I've live streamed it. I'll have to do my eminent domain live streaming concept. But basically you adjust you know market value. You can get the market value easily from many different places, or just have a broker price opinion or whatever. However you come with market value, then make it 80 or 90% of market value is the new principal payment. That way the owner immediately has equity back. If that owner put in cash as a down payment, subtract that from the market value, give that owner his money back, and then whatever is left, that is the new loan principal at 2%, 30-year fixed. The owner starts paying the county. It keeps the owner in the home. It gives the county revenues. It solves the prices, and when the county eminent domains the loan contract, it clears all clouds. So this is truly a good solution, and I agree. Let's not try to do it for all of them. Let's just do it for 1, 2, 3. Let's see how that goes. You know it's going to spread like wildfire. With that, I'm signing off. Now I've given everybody another challenge and another avenue of activity. Thank you so much for watching. I've enjoyed this Update Friday with you, and we'll see you next week. A couple of days next week for sure are going to be workshops again. One's going to be the notary complaint. One's going to be the owner's suspicious statements, and maybe some other workshops as we get them designed, developed, and done, because these workshops are the heart and soul of connecting with 11, 20 million owners in this country. Everyone that's lost a home, he said 7 million had lost. Everyone that's upside down, everyone that's fighting off foreclosure right now. When we have that kind of a connection and organization, truly, now the 99% will have some clout and power. Thank you so much. This is CJ signing off for now. See you next week.